Okay, Nike. When you hear about Nike, what comes to your mind? Is that a company of sneaker, or like a successful sneaker company, or like a company of Michael Jordan? Yeah, those are true. Nike is a great, is a successful sneaker company nowadays, and probably like when we hear about Nike, it's related to expensive brand. It's expensive brand, right? Yeah, because we already know Nike itself endorsed a high-profile athlete, which is Michael Jordan. So yeah, I personally believed that every successful company, every successful and a giant brand nowadays has a terrible story or has a dark story behind it. And yeah, Nike have that terrifying story. Or maybe we can assume it as a hidden secret that perhaps just a few people knew about the fact behind it. I mean, the secret. So I'll tell you that in 1997, there was a Vietnamese woman who worked in Nike's factory, and she was 23 years old, and the name was Nguyen Thi Tu Phong. And the news is related to Nguyen death. Okay, the chronologically, Phong was like crafting the sneakers, and there was a machine. I mean, like the machine of her coworkers, but it was broken, and suddenly, like a logam fragment embedded to the lungs of Phong. Yeah, and suddenly it was the cost why Phong was died instantly. But at the time, like the Phong's death was the first misfortune of Nike's manufacturer. Uh, though like in 1980s and in 1990s, bad news already emerged related to Nike's factory, whether it was about underage work in Indonesian plants and like the dangerous working condition in Vietnam, and yeah, it was just proved by the death of Wong. But ironically, at the time, like the those bad issue about Nike just circling around the labor circle, and just a few people knew it, and suddenly the Fong's death paved the way to those issues to spread widely to the public. And in response, many university students promoted and encouraged a boycotts of Nike products, and as well as Doonesbury. Doonesbury is a comic strip that contains news. I mean, the content of the comic is about happening news, is about hot news. Also, encourage a boycotts of a cartons company that exploited a worker. So yeah, but before the death, before the bad issue of Nike was spreading, Nike also known as a successful company for more than 3 decades, because uh, you know it Nike was started in Oregon, and it was started as a sneaker company. Yeah, as we know today, also as a sneaker company. But at the time, the company were attributed with a staggering growth, and also Nike at the time has had a had a vibrant ability to influence the fashion trends around the globe. Yeah, it makes why Nike could be famous today, because Nike is a like the trendsetter of fashion. So yeah, shortly Nike earn could earn the revenue from the 90 yeah 90,000 US dollars to the 49 million US dollars in just 10 years. Yeah, Nike was successful at the time by earning 49 million US dollars. And probably a question emerges: what differentiate Nike with the other competitor? Oh yeah, remember that at the time, the sneaker company was just not only Nike, but there was a Reebok, Adidas, and New Balance, also like the competitor of Nike. But one but one thing that distinguished Nike with the other competitor nestled in its strategy, not in its shoes model or shoe style, but in its strategy. Yeah, like the model of Nike itself was simple, because the CEO of Nike at the time is Phil Knight, and Phil Knight was designed the Nike products, the sneaker, while he was in university and Stanford Business School students. Yeah, he made it. He crafted the model of Nike while he was in university. Yeah, so it was so simple, the model, but the strategy that that was initiated by Phil Knight was staggering. Okay, like the formula, I mean the strategy consists of two major things. First, like Nike wants to press the production cost. So like the action that was that was taken by Nike is like um, give gave like the all manufacturer like gave the all production process to the third party. Yeah, so Nike just gave third party to create the Nike's product. And yeah, why Nike did that? Because Nike wants to save the money. Wants to save the money. Okay, imagine when Nike had an independent factor had an independent manufacturer. Nike like should be take should be take care of the machine, like of the management of human and management of the factory, and yeah, any cost related to the manufacturers. But when Nike gave all the all those tasks to the third party, Nike could save the rest of the money. And the rest of the money was to endorse a high profile celebrity, and it was like the second strategy. Nike wants to establish a high profile brand, a distinguished brand, a, a vibrant brand, by attach Michael Jordan, like by attach an athlete to its brand. So simply Nike wants everyone hear about Nike, when everyone hear about Nike, like we instantly thought about athletic and like urban cool style. Yeah, simply like that. Or maybe on the other hand, we could say that we could say that Nike prioritized the brand first. But yeah, again, behind those behind those great brand, Nike has a strong correlation with a low paid workers. Like the workers were being paid lower than the minimum wages. And yeah, its its plants was located in Indonesia. And no, not only one. I mean, like almost six. Yeah, six plants of Nike were located in Indonesia. So we can conclude that at the time Indonesia was the central of Nike's production. The reason why Nike selected Indonesia as the main location, because yeah, the wages of Indonesian workers were low, and the workforce were also obedient. And yeah, the government itself, the government of Indonesia, also, like, yearning, craving about the foreign investment. So on the other hand, we could say that Indonesian government encouraged the Nike's company to establish a plant in Indonesia. Simply like that. And yeah, because Nike paid the Indonesian worker with very low wage, like the wage did not touch $1, $1, did not touch. Okay, that was crazy. And yeah, definitely because of that, the cost the cost of Nike's product from Indonesia is 50% lower than the Nike's product from the South Korea and the Taiwan. Okay, but as time goes by, there were many unrest across Indonesian region, across the Indonesian region. Initially, like the strikes in 1989, only 19, sorry, only 19 strikes. But in 1991, the number of strikes was highly increasing to the 112 strikes in a cross Indonesia region. And yeah, of course, because of that phenomenon, many newspaper written about those polemic issue. And because the unrest happened in 1991, the Asian American Free Labor Association, established a very critical report about the foreign companies in Indonesia. And at the end of the year, at the end of 1991, Institut Teknologi Bandung also issued like similar report regarding to the abusive practice in Indonesian factory. And yeah, in the midst of those unrest, there was a figure, or we can call it as a hero at the time. He was a Jeff Bellinger. Jeff Bellinger is a labor activist. Yeah, he was a labor activist since high school, and like he believed that every company give should give their workers a sufficient wage, a fair wages to their workers, even to the lowliest workers. it means like every company should give a fair wages to all their workers regardless to their position. Yeah, simply like that. Because were he 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 worried about, the gap between the wages gap between developed and developing countries, because he thought that those gap will give an opportunity will give would give an opportunity to the would give an opportunity to the like to the Western company to enrich themselves by exploiting the low wage workers. Yeah, he like he he insists he insists wanted to eradicate those gap. And yeah, simply like Jeff Bellinger had a task to like investigate and observe labor condition in Indonesia. And yeah, just to make sure is that the condition is the condition of the labor was like was feeling the, was qualifying or not. So yeah, Nike was the best target to this investigation, and Ballinger believed that the policy of Nike itself, that to suppress the cost production, could lead to awful treatment to their workers. And yeah, because like you know Nike didn't feel the requirement, the the good requirement, and to do like good treatment to their labor. Nike believed that Nike didn't have a responsibility to their labor, because Nike didn't have a house production. And yeah, it was the awful part that many Indonesian labor exploited being exploited, and also even like there was a child being exploited in Nike's factory. And yeah, Jeff Bellinger wanted to draw this attention, want to draw the world to pay attention to this issue. Until so he oftenly published a newsletter about abusive practices in Nike's company. And yeah, suddenly in 1991, the the article that was released by Jeff Bellinger get got noticed from the US and Indonesian from the US company and Indonesian government. So yeah, at the time, like government itself, like enforce a new regulation about the minimum wage of Indonesian worker from from 2,100 rupiah to 2,500 rupiah. And yeah, but those increasing number didn't have a significant impact in fulfilling necessity of a labor. And And ironically, many factories neglected those regulation, neglected that requirement, neglected that rules. And yeah, many factory also negotiated to the government, like, please do not charge my company with those rule like that. So yeah, I just want to share that once the Nikes, like the Nike story was terrifying. Nikes didn't give attention to their labor. They ignored their labor condition, their labor environment, until like many labor being exploited, even like children. And yeah, until like the Vietnamese women died instantly in Nike's production. So yeah, we believe that every successful brand had a terrifying story behind that success. So yeah, I just want to share that. Thank you.